Carnotaurus, the bulldog of the dinosaur kingdom. Many of you might remember this is the creature from the animated cult classic Dinosaur from 2000, where this species was featured as the antagonist, hunting the herd of herbivores that searched for a better life. And if you grew up with this film, you might believe this animal sounded something like this. But this roar was made by combining a leopard and a lion roar together. But what if I was to tell you this animal really sounded completely different, and in fact would have been much more unsettling? Recently, this carnivore has resurged in popularity thanks to its fresh appearance in the Jurassic World series, first being featured in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, where it fought a Sinoceratops during the volcanic eruption, then being featured prominently as the villain of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, Netflix's new animated series. But with this modern take on the famous carnivore, how does it differ from the real-life animal? Let's take a look at what the Carnotaurus really sounded like. I'm your host Alistair, and welcome to Dangerville. Welcome back to our long-running series, What It Really Sounded Like, where we've taken a look at dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex, Brachiosaurus, Spinosaurus, Velociraptor, and other prehistoric beasts. We take established science and apply it to dinosaurs during times when we uncover new information that changes our viewpoints of these fascinatingly terrifying creatures. Oftentimes, the reality of these animals is far more interesting than their fictional counterparts. So today, let's take a look at the Carnotaurus. And to find out how this creature sounded like, we have to take a look into the creature itself and how it may have survived. Carnotaurus sastrae is a genus of large theropod that was discovered in 1984 in the Chubut province of Argentina. With only one skeleton actually discovered, the MACN-CH894 holotype is still to this day one of the best preserved dinosaurs ever uncovered, being mostly intact and articulated. Not only that, but it was preserved with extensive skin impressions, showing that this beast was indeed scaled and not covered in feathers. This unique animal thrived in the late Cretaceous period in America between 72 to 69 million years ago. The name Carnotaurus translates to meat-eating bull, and whilst its signature name may be obvious, its last name, Sastrae, comes out of respect for Angel Sastrae, the owner of the ranch where the dinosaur fossils were discovered. Carnotaurus was a lightly built bipedal carnivorous predator, measuring from 7.5 to 9 meters in length, and stood at a height of around 3 meters tall, weighing approximately 1 to 3 metric tons. It had long hind limbs, and combined with its sleek body, it was capable of extreme levels of speed. In 2011, it was theorized this creature could push 30 to 35 miles an hour, at least in short bursts, making it a formidable predator and one of the fastest large dinosaurs of the late Cretaceous period. It stands out thanks to its distinctively devilish horns that are located just above the eyes, a trait not found in any other carnivorous dinosaur. These may have been used in combat or potentially as a display to signal maturity in males. And another standout feature of the Carnotaurus are the small forelimbs that appear to be useless. For some reason, the T-Rex is mocked for its small arms, whilst Carnotaurus was far more stubby. Whilst Tyrannosaurus had some use for its arms that were still surprisingly powerful, the Carnotaurus's forelimbs are theorized to have simply lost their usefulness through millions of years of evolution. But there's only one reason that would have happened, because it was a formidable predator in another aspect, its jaw. And to understand how they might have communicated, we have to know their behavioral patterns, such as how they hunted and whether they traveled in packs. The short and blunt skull was able to exert a force of 3,400 newtons, which is around 0.35 metric tons, surprisingly unimpressive. For comparison, hyenas have around 4,900 newtons of force. This leads us to believe that hunting large dinosaurs was not in Carnotaurus's forte, and that it mainly would hunt smaller prey. And since smaller prey would have been far better equipped for speed than most large theropods, this demonstrates how the Carnotaurus exceeded in hunting these smaller dinosaurs like Ostroraptor or young wandering Saltosaurus. Analysis of the skeletal structure of the Carnotaurus has shown us that it would use its strong neck to reach out and take swift bites, much like modern-day crocodiles. It would wear down prey or even grab them and whisk them away before they even had a chance to escape. The researchers also found that it had a high degree of flexibility within the skull, and especially the lower jaw. Unlike snakes, the elasticity would allow it to swallow smaller prey whole. The way its teeth were shaped meant that anything that had the misfortune of being trapped within the Carnotaurus's jaw would have no chance of escape. So whilst it's no Tyrannosaurus, which is still the undisputed tyrant king, Carnotaurus didn't need to be. It had found a niche and became top of that food chain, being one of the fastest large carnivores around. As for pack hunting, little is known about this behavior in Carnotaurus. Forming packs is only found in incredibly intelligent species like wolves or primates. Packs demonstrate an ability to have hierarchy, an alpha, an understanding of gender roles, and are much more complex than simply forming groups. Reptiles don't often have the mental capacity to form packs, although it is observed that amongst large reptiles like Komodo dragon that they will often use specific scents to alert other members of the same species that they need assistance, and will often form temporary groups in order to take down larger prey, such as water buffalo. They will come together and begin to strike and reap the rewards of their efforts. Though they don't form close bonds, in fact, after the prey is taken down, they will often fight for the food and attempt to claim territory, demonstrating that these creatures prioritize instinct over ethics. The same behavior is most likely found in Carnotaurus because whilst they most likely hunted smaller dinosaurs alone, it's probable that they would come together in order to take down larger prey and, like Komodo dragon, work together to gain the upper hand. But once the prey is down, the teamwork stops and they go back to their natural territorial behavior. Now we've had to take a look at their lifestyles, but what about their sound? How would they have produced it and why? If you follow this series, you'll understand that dinosaurs didn't have the traditional methods of communication like modern birds. Professors from the University of Texas began researching birds and alligators in an attempt to bring these ancient beasts to a greater modern understanding. In a massive development, they scanned the brain case of another large carnivore, the Tyrannosaurus rex, and from this scan discovered the outlines of the hearing organs. The scientists concluded that theropods, like Carnotaurus, were extremely sensitive to low-frequency sounds, lower than most humans could even hear. This scientific theory is backed up thanks to the discovery that the syrinx, the organ that allows for vocalization in birds, was not found in non-avian dinosaurs like Carnotaurus, which tells us that the voice box was an evolutionary trait, meaning they couldn't make sounds in a traditional manner and, in fact, couldn't roar at all. They would have instead used their esophagus to circulate air through its organs and would have used the surrounding muscular tissue to push out the air in a specific way where it would have made a low-frequency bellow. Thanks to this, it means Carnotaurus could communicate using closed-mouth vocalization, a technique still used in many living animals, meaning it wouldn't even need to open its mouth to make a sound, since the sound travels through distinct vibrations. The same technique of vocalization is used in the Eurasian bittern. This bird is often used by researchers as the closest representation of dinosaur communication. The result is a low-frequency tone that allows for a wider range of communication that fits perfectly with the Carnotaurus's exceptional low-frequency hearing. So by combining the Eurasian bittern with various other animals that use similar forms of communication, as well as decreasing the frequency to the appropriate level based on the Carnotaurus's size, I'm going to attempt to recreate what the Carnotaurus really sounded like. It's often hard to come to terms with the idea that dinosaurs like Carnotaurus didn't roar, but it's simply because these creatures were from a completely different age, where nature functioned completely differently. It's practically like another world. Large dinosaurs simply didn't need to roar. They were the most menacing creatures around. Roaring would only scare away potential prey, and these were hunters after all, and food was scarce. But these low-frequency sounds would have allowed it to essentially talk to other members of the same species, allowing it to communicate territory or mating calls over long distances. There is actually a modern descendant of dinosaur that features many similarities to Carnotaurus. The cassowary is a flightless bird native to the lands of New Guinea, the Maluku Islands, and northeastern Australia. Standing 6 feet tall, these creatures are incredibly deadly, boasting velociraptor-like sickle claws on its feet that it would use for disemboweling, as well as a large crest on its head which is used to signal maturity and even used in combat, similar to Carnotaurus. This animal uses infrasound, which is a form of vocalization that uses extremely low-frequency noises to communicate over long distances, and would, like Carnotaurus, use closed-mouth vocalization. This isn't the only animal that does this. Reptiles like alligators also use the same technique. So even though it's hard to believe that these big scary dinosaurs didn't roar, by looking at other large modern-day birds and reptiles, it begins to add up and make more sense. I'd like to thank the researchers that are thinking outside the box and continue to push our understanding of these magnificent creatures forward. Each discovery brings us closer to seeing what these animals really were, and that's just animals, not monsters. But just because they communicated differently doesn't make them any less scary. In fact, that makes them more terrifying than ever before. Because of this low-frequency bellow, which is a frequency you wouldn't even be able to hear, you wouldn't be able to listen out for the carnivores that are hunting you. You'd only feel a slight uneasiness as your body can sense something that's not quite right. You feel slight vibrations as the Carnotaurus draws near, and you feel a primal instinct to run, but you're not quite sure why. But chances are, if you could feel the vibrations of the Carnotaurus communicating, you'd already be a goner. With speeds of up to 35 miles per hour, they would face no trouble outrunning you, meaning you'd become a quick and easy meal. So that's what the Carnotaurus really sounded like. But what do you think about this theory? Do you think the more realistic sound is scarier since you're unaware of its presence? Or do you prefer a booming roar? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. If you've learned something new, then hit that like button to help us teach more people about this fascinating discovery. If you want to see more science videos, then subscribe and stomp that notification button to become a resident of our lovely town of Dangerville today. I've been Alistair, and we'll see you residents in the next one.